I'm going to show the final website that we designed and we finally implemented. So the first one, the first thing that you will see in the website is the cover of the website, and then it shows give user the impression and the topic that we're going to talk about, and also to set up the atmosphere of the whole website with a very big hero image. And then the next thing they will see is an intro with some definitions of the key concepts and also the key questions that we ask. So they are, first, we wanted to explore the seasonal and monthly trends, and we want to explore the geolocation on both the macro level and the micro level, including the states and also specific settings. And lastly is that we wanted to showcase the trends we find for food and water types. And then they will see a table of content that cover all the things here that they might be interested. They can click and go to a specific chapter. And the whole website, as you can see, are designed by a one-page scroll. So that kind of navigation can be more immersive for the user so they can pay attention to the content. And let's talk about each of the visualization that we did. The first one is about the time and monthly trend that we find with our database. So the first thing, we encode months and also outbreaks number and the primary modes in a line chart so that user can easily tell which primary mode actually has the most outbreaks. And they can also see some monthly trends and seasonal trends here on the line chart. And if they're curious about that, they can also use the filter and also the checkboxes to focus on one primary mode. And they might be curious about why there's like a big trend here in the winter. So if they scroll down, they will see a two heat map that show the patterns clearer. So here we again use color to encode the number of outbreaks, and then use position here to show the month and year. So user can easily tell actually in winter and spring, person to person has a very big number of outbreaks. And then for the water, the transmission by water, you can see that summer actually has the most number. And if you're curious about why there's like a big numbers here in the summer, you can hover over and see the type of the specific water that actually causes disease. And you can do the same thing for person-to-person transmission too. And next is the geolocation patterns we find. So we use a geo map here to showcase the trends. User can easily click the play button to see the color change here of the number of outbreaks. So you can see there's a loading. Sometimes there's some technical limitation of Tableau. So if you play that, you can see there's the color is changing for different years, and there's a very obvious cluster here to the northeast of the United States. And you can observe the changes, and if you're curious, you can stop at a specific year and then hover over to see the trend. And next is the settings. So let's zoom in a little bit to specific settings to see what's happening here. And here we use, again, color to encode death rates, and then use the size of the rectangle to encode the number of illnesses. So user can easily find the setting that with the most number of illnesses, which is the long-term care facility. And if they're curious, they can hover over to see the number and click for detail to see the primary mode within that setting. So you can see person to person actually take the most place for the transmission of long-term illnesses in the long-term care facility. They can also use the color to tell which one is more severe. So the one with red colors are also have higher death rates. And next, we also, during our exploration, we also find some monthly and seasonal trends for each of the setting. So we use small multiples here to showcase the trends of different settings. And we use color to encode different categories of these patterns. For example, the one on top are the settings that have the most illnesses in the winter and then have the most illnesses in summer. And there are some with double picks or triple picks, and user might wonder why, and then explore the primary modes here of each of the setting that we show. And next is the food and water chain. So we find that users are very curious about food and water agents, how they played a role in in causing all those disease. So here we use scatter plot, and we encode death rates by colors, and then we use the size of the dots to show the number of deaths, and we use the position to show Unisys and Outbreaks number, so user can easily locate the two big dots with the most deaths, and then also hover over to see more details of each of the outbreak, and then they can see, okay, actually what are the fruits that caused all those diseases, such as apple cider or something like that. And then the last section, the last chapter, we showed all the story that we find in our exploration. There are some very interesting outbreaks in the history that we wanted to show as an example that to help the user understand the problem. And here we have all those tabs. Okay, it's again loading. We'll have all those tabs on top. So with a title, that user can click into the one that they're interested in, and they can see a news coverage of the specific outbreak in the history, and we pick the one that with, for example, the most death number or the most Unis number. And at the last tab, user can also use the scatter plot to explore more outbreaks in the history and hover over to see the details of those outbreaks. And they can also use the checkboxes and highlighter to locate a specific kind or a specific group of units of outbreaks in the history. And last, we ended the website with some suggestions to the user that they should follow to prevent those disease.